It's the month of September and time to have a look at what we can expect this month, both for the country and for ourselves. Well, it does look like we're beginning to adjust and get used to this government of national unity and everything that goes along with it. And some bigger adjustments are now going to happen. It's like for the last month or two, we've been getting used to it. Some of the initial cracks and teething troubles and all of those things have shown themselves. And this is the month where a lot of those are going to be on the table and which either need to be sorted out or else they can actually damage some of the unity that's being established in that government of national unity. It does look like there's a increasing energy in the opposition. That's the MK party primarily, but also the various other political parties that have both aligned themselves with MK party as well as other parties as well. And it does look like they're kind of trying to poke holes now in the GNU. They've tried many different strategies, taken to court, all of those kind of things. Those are probably ongoing, but those aren't very impactful. And it does look like there are new strategies on the go. Also, some big surprises from the MK party. Well, that's not so surprising because that's their nature hire, fire, and make big changes. That is still ongoing. They're not yet finding their feet, and there are going to be some further surprises in that regard. There could be then further surprises, for example, to do with other political parties, whether it's more significant people from the EFF jumping ship in that direction or from elsewhere. I suspect that we're going to see some people from the ANC jumping ship in that direction as well. So there's still a bit of shaking up and finding feet with regards to opposition politics in this country. How that is relating in the GNU is, as I said, the cracks and difficulties are being exposed. That is an opportunity to sort them out. And cooperation still looks very, very strong in this chart. Although there are uncoveries and discoveries and all of those things that now different members of that government have found, and we kind of they have to find a way to resolve those things as well. It does look like the spirit of cooperation remains very, very strong, and internally in that government, it looks like there's a lot of dialogue happening. I suspect that we are not seeing a lot of what's going on the outside, how much actually negotiation and discussion and so on there actually is going on, which bodes well for the country because the chart is showing that this is a time where the focus of the politics is still very much around service delivery, meeting needs, and those kind of things. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of money spent on service delivery in the month ahead. And that's where there's this shift in the chart into the spending of money on important things. So you're going to see service delivery is one, the country and the image of the country, as well as dealing with things like the 500 billion that went missing in that direction and so on. It may be that more of that comes to the surface, but more importantly, there are going to be more strategies, situations, etc., that actually deal with the secrets that have been exposed. There are some hard truths we're going to have to face and some unpleasant discoveries we're probably going to find, nothing unusual for this country. And it does look like there's a strategy in place that will slowly address some of those discoveries and unpleasantries that have been uncovered. Financially, it looks like we might not be able to hold onto some of the good ground that we've captured in the last little while. Whether that's the currency won't be able to stay at its improved rate at the moment, or other aspects of the economy, it's looking like a very mixed bag in that regard. There's definitely improvement and gain, but there's still a lot of wasteful expenditure, a lot of limited budget cuts, reductions, all of those kind of things that are going to actually have an impact in the economy in bigger ways than might be expected. For example, budget cuts in education might mean less spending, but also mean poorer outcomes. We're going to see a bit of that in other areas as well. So hopefully, more care is exercised in that regard. As we know, the one department that is trying to spend money, well, that's sport and arts and the department under Gates and McKenzie, and it looks like a lot of that money is being spent. For all his bravado about the proper expenditure of money, there also seems to be some waste going on in that regard as he tries to sort out his big ideas about how the money should be spent with what's actually practically real and possible. Still, it looks like that's one area of South Africa's life which is continuing to get great results. That's sport and even the arts in some kind of a way. So there's a lot of the benefit of that energy is being seen, but truth is a lot of it is being wasted as well. And maybe Mr. McKenzie and maybe one or two other ministers can get off their grandstands and actually just roll up their sleeves and do some of the work rather than announcing what they've discovered and announcing how they're going to change things. And all of that's great and inspiring. But this is the time to get cracking and get down to work because, as I said, we are in danger of losing some of the ground that we have actually gained. For the most part, the chart still looks fairly peaceful and beneficial. We're still continuing to grow more and more as we move on from this establishment of this government. And as I've said, the negotiation works well. That also works well in terms of foreign affairs. We've seen strengthening of ties with China recently, and we're going to see more of that with other BRICS countries in the very near future as well. And we are at the very least, asserting our place in the world one way or the other. So, for the most part, South Africa is really recovering a sense of self, a sense of identity, and a sense of strength that comes from that. As long as we keep on putting our energy in the right place, that's negotiation, interaction, discussion, but most importantly, rolling up sleeves and doing the work. Listen, government, that's the part that you need to be doing. It's great to negotiate, but now you can shake hands, say, nice to talk to you, and go out there and do the work. And we are hopefully going to be seeing more of those results. Just remember, economy has not recovered just yet. So we all need to be a little bit more careful on spending and be aware that there's still going to be some economic pain before some gain. But at least there is some gain in the offing, both politically and socially and even economically in this country as the months go by. So September is this tipping point, this turning point where we go from we've ironed out some of the cracks, we've exposed some of the cracks, we've been discussing. Now let's make the work happen. Well, Aries, it looks like it's family month for you. And that both means the family that you came from, your parents, your siblings, and so on, as well as the family that you've made for yourself, even if it's just a relationship that you're in. And this month is a little bit about a balance needed between those two things. When it comes to home family, family that you came from, whether it's actual family members or just the house or things to do with the past in that kind of way, looks like there's a lot of sorting out to be done, admin to be done, and stuff that hasn't been addressed will need to be addressed. You're going to have to take a firm stand. You're going to have to be very clear where you stand and draw some solid boundaries to ensure you can do what needs to be done. There's a lot that's changing. There's lots of little demands coming from different sides, and you just need to be clear that this is the time to sort out the old stuff once and for all. The balancing act needs to be with your own personal relationships, family, and just making sure that there's no loss of attention, of importance, of energy in your personal relationships as well. It's not really a month of competition between those two things, but you just need to make sure that you tread the delicate balancing act. You make sure both sides of your family are feeling well attended to and that you're standing your ground in the middle and balance is achieved. Taurus, it looks like you need to shake up a few things at home, be it home and family and the people at home, and things need to change around there. But even the home itself, the house, the interiors, the design, anything really needs a lot of change at this time. And this is the time to make the biggest changes you've got the courage to do. If you've had something you've been wanting to do to the house, up your sleeve, waiting for it. Wait no longer. This is the time to actually kick those plans into action. In terms of domestic life, you're also going to have to make some changes. And maybe it's times just to raise some of the issues that you've been meaning to or needing to, or something like that, raise them and get them sorted out once and for all. It does look like you might be being a little bit too particular about something and sticking to a very narrow point of view or narrow vision of something in those family relationships or just to do with the home itself. And the shake-up means let go of the old ways of doing things, let go of the old problems, and find new ways to do things and new ways to approach the same old stuff that keeps on coming up again. This could be the time to make a real big change. Don't get involved in any conflict, not a great time for that. Just make sure you keep things peaceful, that no one's at a disadvantage, but that you can introduce the changes that you need to do. Gemini, things are looking like a bit of a crazy whirl at the moment. And if possible, you need to find yourself some pause and rest and respite in the middle of all of this. But I don't think it's going to happen. There's a lot on your plate, there's a lot that needs to be done. And there's also a lot that you're trying to get done that doesn't need to be done. So that's the place to start. What do you need to do right now versus all this extra stuff that seems to be on your plate at the same time? There's a lot that needs to be changed and kind of thrown out. It's like a spring clean that's going on in your life at the moment. And this is going to create a certain amount of upheaval. There are indications, warnings of a lot of wasted energy this month as well. Be kind to yourself. It's not going to be easy to avoid that. Things are going to require a lot of energy. But at the same time, you can exhaust yourself and drain yourself, and that is the warning in your chart at the moment. Make sure that you also get some time for fun, for playtime, for other important people in your life. In fact, for many Geminis, this can be a really good month for romance. Existing relationships are a little bit challenged. New relationships look really good for Gemini at this time. So be careful where you stand in that, but cultivate those new relationships and make sure the old relationships, existing relationships, are not suffering the consequences of your kind of chaotic life at the moment. Calm things down. Cancerians, it doesn't look like you're getting much rest this month either, but hopefully that's going to mean because you're getting a lot of stuff done. It looks like a really busy month. There's a lot of busyness at work, but there's a lot of busyness in your own life. And that's probably something that you're going to have to find some kind of happy medium because there's a great danger of overdoing it. This is a month where the charts say you could burn yourself out. You could actually, even worst case scenario, make yourself sick. So you need strong boundaries. Winter's not done yet, so you need to make sure that you're not making yourself vulnerable to colds and flus by the burning out thing and making sure you put your energy where there's going to be results. There's a great opportunity to earn more, to produce results by focusing all that extra hard work that you're doing in your working life and making sure that it's actually bringing in some of the income. It does look like quite a good month for money, well, at least the coming in part of it. The problem that we have in the chart is that it seems to be slipping through your fingers or even burning a hole in your pocket. So you can balance the hard work with good results by making sure you stitch up that hole in your pocket. This is not a month for spending, it's a time for building, revaluing, and putting your hard work into something that really pays off. Leos, there's quite a focus on your personal relationships this month, and it's a great opportunity to reconnect, re-establish important relationships, as well as amp up the communication in existing relationships. You might be coming across a little bit too strong, and it looks like the problem is that you focused on very specific things or on your own very specific demands or needs, whatever the situation may be, that's causing you to get a little bit one track, and that's not coming across well to everyone else. So communication is a bit of a lesson this month. If you're working in a creative environment, communicating your ideas will be good. If you're in charge, if you're in a position where it's your ideas that fly and no one else really needs to input anything, that's going to be really great. But that's unusual. There probably needs to be a bit more two-way, just like is happening in your personal life. In your personal life, it really seems to be working really well. This is a great time for sorting things out, for moving forward, for creating new connections and deepening existing connections because communication is really working on that front. It's on the professional front that maybe you need to broaden your vision. Not impossible that that might affect your personal life, and in which case, well, you know what to do. Keep the communication flowing. It's all about that. Virgo, this is a month that's all about cooperation for you, and you need to actually strategize carefully because it looks like you need cooperation at this time, meaning you need resources or input from other people at the same time as you're not really open to or hearing what it is that they have to offer. And you know, you can't have it both ways. So you've got to make sure that you find the fine line, the little balance between those two things as well. For the most part, your ideas are great, and what you're trying to achieve is really going to work. This is a good time to be pursuing those goals, but it's not going to work without making sure that you're negotiating a better balanced relationship with those that you depend on in order for this to work. It is a good time for money, but it's not a really good time for growing money so much as investing money. So, investing in your business, investing in your goals, those kind of things are going to work well at the moment. Increasing money, increasing the bank balance, are not so great at this particular time. So, that also means you need to be a little bit more careful this month. You're not in any danger, but balancing those resources will make sure that you're going to be better off next month or that you're going to be able to see some of those goals really paying off next month. So remember, cooperation is key and then everything works. Librans, this is a month of kind of reworking things a little bit. It looks like in some places you've reached a dead end, or some things might have kind of fizzled out in some way. And this is a time when you need to redefine some of your strategies, rework your approach to some of the goals that you're pursuing, some of the things that are important in your life at the moment. That's not a sign of defeat. It simply is a sign of re strategizing. We need to adapt to the path as we move along it. And this is the time where you're going to have to do that adaptation. So don't see it as a setback of any kind or as anything negative in that way. It's the readjusting and the re strategizing that's really going to work much better for you in the long run. There seems to be obstacles that are created by either people or things from the past or duties, obligations, and commitments which sit there and are waiting to be resolved in the past. They're not going to go away. The past is kind of dragging on you. It can also be that there's some restrictions or obstacles created by other people, bureaucracies, or things like that. This is a time to step back and re-strategize, not fight the obstacle, not engage in a battle with whoever or whatever seems to be the obstacle at this time. A new approach is required. Scorpio, go and get it. This is your goal month, your achieving month. It's great, but that doesn't mean it comes just without any cost. So it does mean that there's going to be a lot of hard work involved, and there is a bit of a challenge in terms of going to get it or getting those goals done. It does look like there also needs to be a lot of new input of some kind by you into how you pursuing or approaching the goals. In fact, the chart puts it as you need a more creative approach. There may be some problems that are standing in your way that need to be looked at from a completely different point of view. But it looks like this is the month where that happens and where that's really going to work for you. The new ways of doing things, new ways of seeing things, new innovations, all of that's really going to open the path and help you really get to those goals. In your personal life, relationships could really be thriving by this influx of energy into your chart, and put some of that energy back into your relationships. It's a great time to be doing things together, having fun together, going on date nights and those kind of things, because it looks like the more you increase the fun, the pleasure, and the love in your chart at this time, the more everything else starts to work as well. And that opens you up to fresh ideas, creative insights, and more success. Sagittarius, nothing new. You have to kind of rope yourself in a little bit. Looks like great things are happening, big ideas on the go, lots of plans. In fact, it is a good month for plans and ideas. But in order for things to actually work, you're going to have to then take a good, long, hard look at them and come down to some reality about how this is going to work. Simply because your chart says you're putting in way more energy than you're getting out of everything that you're doing, and there's a lot of wasted energy. Some of that the typical Sagittarian way, no doubt, and that happens by starting things that you don't finish, spreading yourself too thin, having too many things on the go at the same time. So that's one thing that you can gain better control over. But for the most part, it's really about bringing your ideas into reality. It's great that you've got all these big ideas. It's important to have all these big ideas. You maybe need to bounce them off someone else or just find ways where these ideas can turn into something more practical, because there's a lot of energy in your charts about pursuing the ideas at this time, but there doesn't really seem to be something very solid that's actually being pursued or that might even come out of it. So get back down to reality with the help of a few friends. Then those ideas are really going to fly, because ideas at this time can help build your bigger goals. Don't get caught up in the bigger goals. Ask how those ideas can practically contribute to them. Capricorns, you need to kind of pull back a little bit at this time. It's a good month for you to kind of gather your forces back together, re-look at some stuff, look at some things that are behind you, and really just clear your own personal space. It's spending time alone, spending quality time with yourself, something that Capricorns generally like to do. That's going to really pay off. You are going to have to sort out some financial matters this month, and maybe this is the opportunity to kind of get down to some reality about those financial matters, whether that's about spending situation or the actual money in the bank situation. This is a time to create a practical solution, practical strategies. There does seem to be a lot of waste or dribbling away of financial resources in your chart at the moment, and that's something that you can get a grip on and quickly improve your financial situation just by plugging a few holes. This is also really a good time to have a look at, are you really asserting your own value in what you do? Do people really appreciate what's going on? This is a time to sort out, where do you put your energy, where it's appreciated or where you're doing a lot of work. There is a good result, but no one seems to recognize it. It's not about the recognition. It's just about valuing yourself correctly and making sure you assert that value correctly. Taking time alone will help you find what that value is. Aquarius, looks like great kind of alignment between you and your world at the moment. And what that generally leads to is things working out. So now's the time to dust off the most important plans and the most important goals you can, because they're really going to work. This is the time where not only do they work, but they actually produce results. This is a time where you are producing your own results, and there's nothing you like better than not depending on other people or other situations and rather relying on yourself. That's really going to work. In fact, that could also make it quite a good time to take a bit of a chance to put yourself out there, whether it's a risk or something like that, in order to do it. This is a great opportunity to really give it your best and get the best results out of that. That's really going to work very, very well for you at this particular time. This is still a time where you have to be careful about money. It's great that you're generating it, that you're responsible for your own gains at this time, that your goals are all coming into place, but it does look like you're not paying attention to what happens to it after that. Good time to sort out some of those background financial matters, like where do you put the money, and are you making sure that there are no holes in that tank where you're putting it? Pay attention to both sides. Where's this coming from? Where's this ending up? And your finances are sorted out. Pisces, you also need to kind of take a step back at this time and kind of sort yourself out a little bit. You've probably been running yourself ragged or spreading yourself thin, or something that really just gives you a sense of losing the center. And this is one of those times when the center is not clear. But of course, you can do something about that by reining in, creating good boundaries, focusing on yourself, focusing on what's important, and practical things like focusing on money and things, because with all this spreading yourself thin, it does look like the financial situation is not at the best right now. Warning, worst case scenario, people can pull the wool over your eyes at a time like this. You do become vulnerable because of your willingness to help and because of your tendency to view yourself in a somewhat negative light. There's always those people who are going to try and take advantage of this. So that's why really good boundaries in place at the time. This is not a time to be loaning anyone any money or anything else whatsoever. In fact, it's a great time to kind of just be a little bit more selfish at this time. Think of yourself first. Pay attention to your own goals first. And like that, you end up creating that boundary. Also ask yourself, what am I really worth? Don't exploit me. Look at what I'm really worth. So identify things in your life which can help you create that sense of worth. That creates a good boundary, and everything else starts working better from there.